Hello, and welcome to episode 18 of the Nintendo Jump Podcast. We are a weekly discussion podcast created for Nintendo gamers by Nintendo gamers. It's the week of October 22. My name is Kevin, and today I'm once again joined by Daryl.
What's up?
And Sergio.
Hello, everybody.
What's good, guys? How y'all doing? How you feeling about the 1-8, the adult number? We're in the adult stages now. What do you guys think?
Ooh, nice.
Dude, I'm excited. The entire roster of the Nintendo Jump Podcast just leaked online, and your 3 favorite hosts are there.
What? Is that all you got? All right. That's all you got. So today we're going to be talking about some pretty awesome things. We got our favorite scary games / interesting scary moments, and then we got some listener mail. With that being said, boom, we're going to go to the scary games. You guys ready?
Yes, ready. Bring it.
Here, bring it.
I
Okay.
don't know that I'm ready.
Oh, you're not ready? Well, you know
I
what,
don't know.
Daryl? Because of that, you're going first. What is your favorite? What is your favorite scary game or scary games / interesting scary moments, if you have any?
All right. So I have played through a bunch of scary games in the past. Notably, I played through Resident Evil 4, which honestly I didn't think was all that scary. It was mostly just kind of fun to play.
Yeah.
I also played through, the demo of Zombie U on Wii U, it was kind of an entertaining game because when you were quote unquote paused to look through your backpack, the time didn't stop.
Right.
And you're looking down on the gamepad and not looking at the TV. So I was playing around my wife at the time, and a zombie's like kind of creeping up on me as I'm sorting through my inventory, and she started freaking out, and that was great. But we're not going to talk about that. No.
Okay.
We're going to talk about what to me was the scariest game at that point that I had ever played. And you guys may have heard of it. It's a little bit of a niche game, but it's actually it's The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Oh,
Have you guys played this game?
I believe I have.
I think I have.
Once or twice, right? So when I was a kid, I got that the 64 was the first console that I got kind of close to when it released. I got it roughly about a year after it came out, and immediately got Zelda because Zelda was the game to have, and to this day it's still a 10 out of 10 gold star recommendation of everyone, as it should be. What I didn't realize as a kid playing this when I was in the realm of 9 or 10 years old is that game is scary. That game has some moments in it, specifically anywhere that a Re-Dead appears the first time you see that.
Yes.
And honestly, I remember being, as a kid, this is the stupidest thing looking back now, but I went into the second dungeon in the game after meeting these happy Goron rock people. I went into the Dodongo's cavern, and it freaked me out. And I was just like, you know what? I'm done. So, I put it down. I put it down for a few days, and then I went back to it, and then I finally beat that. But as a kid, that game was a little daunting, and as you progress in the game and you go through the oh crap, I just pulled the Master Sword and I am not ready for this. Still to this day, maybe the best moment in any game, in my opinion, when you become adult Link and then realize that the world got really screwed up, and then you go to the Forest Temple and that music starts playing. Still kind of get shivers. It's still my favorite dungeon because of that.
Ooh.
But later in the game, some crap happens. Like, you have the full going down the well segment, which that was entertaining, and then the Shadow Temple was also kind of freaky in its own right. So
definitely.
yeah, looking back on that game, absolute masterpiece, and I loved it at the time. I love it now, but man, as a kid, there were some really scary moments. So she's gonna hate me for saying this story.
Uh-oh.
I had the pleasure of showing my wife Ocarina of Time for the first time and having her play it through on the 3DS, and I specifically did not tell her about any of that stuff just to I wanted her to experience the full game, and it. The first time you hear a Re-Dead scream, it made her jump a little bit. So I was not alone in the the feeling.
Nice.
But
It's the best way to go.
And it's funny. Like I think it was the author Neil Gaiman. I think said at one point that I'm paraphrasing, and this sounds kind of weird, but he was writing a book for kids that was actually kind of scary, and got questioned on it, and basically said, hey, look, it's good for kids to experience this emotion too, so they can get through it. And to me, that's where I kind of placed Ocarina of Time. Like you triumphed over this really dark landscape, and it comes out on the other side better for it. So yeah, that is my favorite, I'll say, scary game.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't expect that answer because then, I mean, I guess there was a time where I thought The Hills Have Eyes would be kind of scary, but then, I mean, like in Super Mario Bros. 3, but I mean, yeah, I guess I can see why when you were 9 or 10 you would think that is scary, and I guess when I'm thinking about it, because I didn't really play scary games when I was a little kid, and I didn't really get scared, in particular until certain games, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that's a pretty interesting answer.
Well, that's all I got.
Nope. Well, with that being said, Lieutenant Surge, you're on up.
Nice. So I do have a favorite survival horror series, and it is Dead Space. And EA, if you're listening somehow, please make Dead Space 4 or at least a remaster of of the first trilogy on the Switch. That'll be awesome, but I know it's not gonna happen. So.
You hear that, EA? We're asking nicely. Please let it happen.
Please.
Let it happen. Please.
So those are good, and they're definitely scary. But if I had to say the scariest game, it's not even a finished game, really. It's a PT, which I guess it stood for Private Teaser. Yeah.
I remember playing that on the PS4 just as a demo by Hideo Kojima, right?
Yes, that's right. And like you said, a demo of Silent Hills, which unfortunately just wasn't meant to be.
Oh, well, we can wait for his new game coming out. I think Death Stranding? Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, man, that demo is something else. I mean, I played it a couple of times. One time I tried to play it with headphones on, and I honestly couldn't. I had to stop. And one thing that I like/dislike at the same time, I don't like red lights in real life, like a room or a hallway that is lit by only red lighting. And PT has a lot of those.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that can be pretty scary.
Oh,
yeah, actually, I was intrigued by that demo too. I watched some playthroughs and such on it, and I thought it was really well done. It's basically just this repeating hallway that you're trying to do different things to basically solve a puzzle and get through it.
Right.
I ended up making a Mario Maker stage, really heavily referenced.
Wow.
Whoa.
From PT. It wasn't the scariest thing in the world, but I even had a couple jump scares, with a bunch of boos popping out of a block and stuff. So, yeah, definitely that's an excellent choice, I think.
Nice. And quick little mention to Resident Evil 7. I have played a bunch of the Resident Evils. They're not that scary, but 7 is a little bit more out there, and in my case particularly because, so I am kind of afraid of bugs. They freak me out. And Resident Evil 7 has these humongous flying things that I hate. Like, I would literally pull my head back away from the screen whenever because they fly and they get up in your face, and I'm like, no, get away. Yeah.
Oh, man. It's just one of those things.
And that's all I got.
That's all you. I'm beginning to see a trend. With that being said, I got one favorite scary game, and I got one interesting scary moment. 2 different games. So the scary game, my favorite scary game, and for me, I don't really play a lot of scary games, but The Last of Us is a masterpiece. Have you guys heard of The Last of Us?
Yes.
No, what's that?
Well,
I'm
you know what? Oh, okay.
I'm kidding.
I mean, it's all good, but The Last of Us. So, for those who don't know, it is a action-adventure survival horror video game developed by Naughty Dog, who made the Uncharted series, and which is one of the best series ever. Anyway, so it's a survival horror game, and basically you're pretty much two characters, Joel and Ellie, and you're trying to find a cure for this disease that has affected so many people, and the people that are affected, they become they don't call them zombies, but they're called the infected, and so you're on this journey to do that, and so I'll just say that about the story. So with that being said, there were a couple times in the game where I'm like Joel and I'm trying to I'm going into this like underground sort of structure thingamabobber. And just there's a lot of water, and you're trying to start up this engine or this machine so that you can turn on like one single light that can light your way up. And then while you're doing that, I'm like just focused on it. All of a sudden, wow, like oh my god, it was crazy. Like it just like the infected just like jumped on me, and I was like scared as bleep, like and these infected, man, they can make some pretty crazy noises. Like, okay, so one of them is like, like just think of it that way. Like, and you hear it, you think about it, it's like,
Good night,
holy
everyone.
shoot. And, like, it just scared the living shoot out of me, man. Like, especially when you turn around the corner, like, and just like, I'm like, oh, dang. And then just happens, like, just that noise. And even times where they were just like, you'll start to slowly hear that noise. And you're just like, oh my goodness, like, I just want to, like, stop this game for like 5 minutes and recollect myself. So
Well, that's another one of those games that it kind of feels like it's trying to use fear to kind of drive this story, which I think from everything I've heard, it did a really good job of.
Oh, it did. And boy, like, I can get into it later, but anyway, there's one part of the game where it just got like just my adrenaline, just like I had like so much adrenaline, and just if you play The Last of Us and you get to the end of the story, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh.
So one interesting scary moment that I've had is with a different game called Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Now, have you guys heard of that game?
There are a ton of Let's Plays on that one.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
yeah, I've heard of it too.
I've watched my fair share. And, hey, coming to Switch. Ding.
Oh, wait,
Ooh.
what?
Did I do that to you again?
I didn't know that. Oh, my
Breaking
goodness.
news with the Nintendo Jump Podcast. Boop, 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 boop.
Oh, well, great. So with that being said, that's awesome. And thanks for the news, Daryl. Appreciate it. Anyway, so with this game, my friend brought it over one night, and it was just like 7 of us, and we were just playing like in my living room, lights out, blinds shut, just us and my PC. And we loaded up, and we were just playing this game, and it's basically like you're trying to explore like this kind of like this castle mansion thing, and I'm trying to remember, like, just there's this one part where you have a health indicator, and the main character Daniel, like his sanity must be managed. So if you're in the dark too long, you start to lose your sanity. So, and when you start to lose your sanity, you start to have these hallucinations, and whether it's visual or auditory, and like it really messes you up. And like it kind of sucks in a way, because for some of us who are watching from not 5 feet away, but pretty much like 2 feet away, it does hurt the eyes a lot. For me, it was okay. Like it did hurt a little bit for me, but man, it was just like really hard to focus. And then like while you're trying to regain your sanity at the same time, you just see this shadow like just pop out of like 20 feet away, and you're like, oh my god. And we're like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? And we try to get away, and
It kind of sounds like Eternal Darkness a little bit.
Yeah.
it does.
I didn't know it had a sanity mechanic. I'd never seen that.
Oh man, it did, and it was just like it kind of freaked me out a little bit, because I'm like, man, I gotta stay sane. I gotta stay sane, even though it's a game. I gotta stay sane. And I was thinking that like in my head the whole time, and And if
So
I
when
were to
would
say
you say you lost that battle?
probably
Never
like
mind.
probably like 5 minutes later, I was like, oh shoot, and then like that darkness just like engulfs you, like, and I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't make that noise, but I'm just like trying to, play out the story as if it did, and like it just engulfed me, and this darkness just that shadowy figure just like gets you, and game over. So I thought it was pretty interesting, and like I'm not gonna lie, most of us were pretty scared, including me. So I mean, I jumped out of my seat, and yeah, that was yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just to clarify one little thing, they are hoping to bring it to Switch. So mild breaking news with the Nintendo Jump podcast. Do.
Well, there you go. You hear that? Frictional Games, the developer of Amnesia, make it happen, and Nintendo, make it happen. So anyway,
I mean, we just built a connection for you guys right there.
Yo, there you go. And that's all I got. All right, so we got our listener mail. We got some awesome questions from some awesome people. So I'm gonna just read out the first one by our homie Dragon. Shout out to Dragon, cool guy. Great question coming up. Has a game ever made you cry?
And he went on to clarify that this is like actual, not frustration crying, but actual like emotional crying. He said specifically the game 999 got to him in kind of that way.
Whoa, I've never played that game before, but I probably should after. Sergio, what is a game that has made you cry?
Yeah, it has happened. Just, I guess I must say, it doesn't take too much to give me the feels. I'm kind of a softie in a way, but for example, one game that always gets me, no matter how many times I play the intro of it, is Ori and the Blind Forest. I don't want to spoil it, but in the very first sequence in the game, you see Ori crying, trying to revive somebody important to him, and it just gets to me. Like I said, every time, and even the trailer for Ori 2 got to me already. They use music really well to achieve that. But I also wanted to talk about a special moment that I had, a special sad moment, unfortunately. So back in 2013, I was playing Animal Crossing New Leaf, and in the game, my best friend was an alligator called Alfonso. He's the lazy nature, so he's always talking about eating chocolate pie and just being lazy. So, so I'm like, bro, we're besties. So, I'm playing every day before work, and I know Alfonso typically wakes up at 7 a.m. So I went over there, to say good morning. And this random day, I go over there, and his house is gone. And
what?
He is gone. He's
no,
completely gone. Didn't say a thing before. In the game, sometimes they tell you, "Hey, I'm thinking of moving," and you can tell them no. But Alfonso didn't say anything. Later that day, I got a letter from him with a picture, and he kind of said, "Well, I gotta go." And then he left me his favorite shirt in the store so that I could buy it. At least, at least I could.
Wow,
do
that is very involved. Like, just, oh man.
Alfonso's like, peace out.
See ya, jokes.
No, but it was.
Here's my favorite shirt. You can buy it.
Oh man, what a way to go! Oh,
what
goodness.
a jerk!
Wow, man.
But yeah, it was raining in the game, and it was raining in my eyes.
Oh man, it's the cheesiest thing I've heard today.
There's absolutely no way I can top that.
Yeah, there's no way, dude.
It's
no
not
way, dude.
fair.
Yeah, that's why it's Lieutenant Surge, man. Bringing on the spark. Bringing on the spark.
Rest in pieces, Alfonso. Okay.
Oh.
Man. Okay. I have found, and this is kind of weird, I found that as I've gotten older, I've gotten more into the feels of video games, right? As a kid, I used to just knock them out or get scared of them, right? But
knock them out, yeah.
just go play some Mario, beat that game. Go play some Mega Man, beat that game. I used to, I used to get super excited at that, but there wasn't really real emotion there, and part of that is just that those games weren't developed to the point of that yet. It ended up kind of happening with like the Final Fantasy series, as we've talked before, but even that, when I first played Final Fantasy 2 at the time, I just, okay, cool, beat it, done, yes.
Yeah.
And
That's it.
now I'm like, oh man, this moment where Cecil becomes the paladin is this is a fantastic moment. It hit me later for some reason. Anyways, so I don't remember actually crying at any game, and I've been trying to think about it, but there are a few games that really hit me in kind of this, definitely getting the feels from, and probably the most recent one was actually Breath of the Wild. Really, the way they told that story, and I always speak pretty fondly about a lot of the directions that they took in the way they told the story through, like, you're playing as Link, who is in that world an actual full-fledged character with friends and rivals and pseudo kind of love interest type thing, with Zelda and Mipha even, so he is this character and he doesn't remember anything about it, so you have to go and find the memories and relive them, and a lot of the memories I thought were actually really well done. A lot of people got kind of annoyed by the voice acting. I really didn't. I thought it was good, at least fine. And there's a couple moments, like, I don't, it's in the initial trailer, so it's not really a spoiler-ish, but when Zelda realizes that she just couldn't do what she needed to do to save the kingdom, and kind of has a little breakdown moment, that still sticks with me for sure,
Oh man.
And after you finally beat the game, there's this one line, and I will not spoil it, but man, that hit me. It's just Zelda talking to Link again, and that, so that's probably the closest that I've gotten in a recent game, not going as far back as to, generally, for whatever reason, it's the games with these kind of simple but emotionally driven stories. Like, there's a game on Super Nintendo called Illusion of Gaia. I don't know if anybody's really played that. It's a decent game, kind of a Zelda clone, but it has kind of a really simplified, I'll say almost pure type love story in it, and I still think fondly back on that and the moments in Final Fantasy VI, like these kind of just, this character wants to be with this character, or this character wants to accomplish XYZ, and they actually end up doing it, and you get to live through that. I'm kind of a sucker for that kind of storytelling for whatever reason, and video games do it a lot. So there's a list.
No, for sure.
So,
I mean, there's this. And that's what makes those games great, because it makes you very more emotionally invested, and be able to. It's like a catharsis for you to have these sort of feelings, and be able to just to have that connection between you and the characters. So it's definitely relatable, and
Yeah, keep playing that Dog Island.
Yeah. Dog Island. I gotta pick that up too.
I'm scared. Yeah, I played it for a little bit, and I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be one of those games, isn't it? And yeah, I need to jump back into it.
Whoa. That was my best Scooby-Doo impersonation. AKA terrible, but anyway. Great. So, for me, there was one game that I did shed a couple tears, not as much, but enough to, get those tears going.
Call of Duty. Called it. $5 on Call of Duty. Pay up.
Jokes. I mean, that would be has the game ever made me mad? And that was definitely Call of Duty. But for real though, The Legend of Heroes: Trails in the Sky, second chapter, not the first, but the second chapter. There was one scene where you have two of the main characters, Estelle and Joshua, and I'm gonna spoil the story a little bit, not too much, but basically Joshua is in this state where he believes that he's a killer again, and he's this assassin who, because in the first chapter, after what happened to him when he was an assassin when he was a little kid, then he grew up to become a good person. Then he had this relapse with this greater power person, which I'm gonna say that just because I don't want to spoil it. So this villain, and then he becomes soulless again. He becomes this assassin that he's known to be. And there's this one scene where Estelle, pretty much the main character of the game, and Joshua, they're in this one area in the world, and pretty much Joshua's convinced that he is made to kill, and he's always going to be a killer. He'll never change. And then Estelle, there's a sequence where she tells him that you're not born to be this kind of person. You are a good person. And I don't remember all the dialogue, but she pretty much talked to an extent where Joshua does have a heart. He does have a conscience, and he doesn't have to be this person who needs to prove that he's the best assassin ever, or just some sort of thing. And then like you can see like Joshua's eyes, like, because they'll show his eyes, and they're like there's no dilated pupils, right? It's just dark, like kind of disgusted me too. I'm like, damn, man, like, where are those pupils, man? Like, I gotta see those dilated pupils. Like, I gotta see some life in this guy. And then, because throughout the first half of the game, in the second chapter, you don't, like, when you see his eyes, they're just dark, like just nothing. And then once Estelle talks to him and stuff, and you start to see that white dot in his eye, just to give him that life, like, oh man. And then he starts crying for the first time, and and man, I was like, oh man. Then I started like,
we all cry with him.
I was like, oh man. And then the music goes like, ba 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 da da da, and it's like, I mean, that's just like my humming version, but yeah, it was like, it got emotional. I'm like, oh man, like, I just got some in my eye, man. I'm literally just like, I'm like home alone. I'm just like, okay, well, no one's gonna hear me, so I was like, oh, I just got some in my eye, but yeah, it was just, what a moment. And then Joshua becomes your ally again, and you fight against the villain later on in the game. So I mean, that's pretty much my experience with that, and yeah, so
nice.
It's all, yeah, it was pretty crazy.
So we've tackled fear and I don't know, sadness / sweetness. So what other emotions can we hit? Has a game ever made you angry? No. Let's just move on.
We're not, man. I mean,
Call of Duty.
I can Call of Duty. I can do a whole episode just on Call of Duty, man. Like, no joke. You want to know my experience? Hell yeah, I give it to you, but not today, because this is Nintendo Jump Podcast. This isn't a Call of Duty podcast. So I mean, well, although there are some Call of Duty games that came on Nintendo, but whatever. Anyway, so we got two questions. Gonna combine them into one ish from our homie Shy Guy, aka Sly Guy. Shout out to Sly Guy, Shy Guy. So he starts with this: do you feel we commonly mistake nostalgia and fond memories of retro games for quality? What game holds a special place in your heart, even though, when looking back, you realize that it's not actually a good game? Daryl?
You're starting with me.
Boom.
So I'm just going to answer the first part of that question. Yes. Okay, Sergio? No.
That's it. That's straight up.
That's all I got. No, that is
yeah.
far from all I got. So, yeah. So the question is, do we mistake nostalgia for quality? And in many cases, as an industry, so as I read magazines and hear top 10 lists of the best games of all time, a lot of times people have trouble separating how good a game actually is from the impact that it actually had. Right? So you'll see the original Super Mario Brothers on a ton of top whatever lists of video games all time. And if you just stack that game up as a 2D platformer against other 2D platformers now, it's still fun to play. It's still a good game, but is it in any way better than a lot of ones that have come after it, no. And should it be? No. It laid the foundation for those games. But in many ways, we hold that game up because without Super Mario Brothers, who knows where the gaming industry would be, right?
Right.
So that's kind of holding kind of historical importance as quality. But if we just go holding nostalgia as quality, you'll see a lot of times, we actually talked about it in a previous episode where, the first time you play a game like Fire Emblem or you play a game like whatever, that game is going to be a defining experience, right? And you're going to be like, man, this series is amazing. And then the second time you play it, you can't really recreate that. So to me, is any Fire Emblem game really going to uproot Fire Emblem Game Boy Advance? No. And I know that because, that was the game that I started with. That was the game that has all the feelings associated with it. Is the series now a much deeper, more complicated, mechanically more sound series? Yes, absolutely. Is it a better game in my eyes? No, because I'm nostalgia blind a little bit, So it's just, I do feel like we all kind of do that to some extent. Hold on to games of the past, and what's nice is when you actually go back and you play a game that you've kind of soapboxed for. This is a great game. Like, when you go back and play Ocarina of Time for the first time in 3-4 years or something, it's really refreshing to actually be able to sit down and be like, no, that is a really good game.
Yeah,
like,
right, exactly.
That still holds up.
Yeah.
I do that with Wind Waker, although I definitely see its flaws as well. But, every time I play it, I get happy again. It's great. So the flip side of that, and that's the second part of the question, is a game that you used to, you have a lot of nostalgia for, you love it, but now you've kind of come to realize that it's not the best game in the world.
Yeah.
So I think probably the best example, and this is probably somewhat controversial at this point, but I'm going to go with classic Mega Man.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah,
that is a bold statement right there.
In no way am I calling those games bad, because I don't think that they are. But I do feel like they have been almost completely bettered by, honestly, the Mega Man X series. I think does everything that the Mega Man series did, but better. So going back and playing those now, I actually have a fairly hard time going back and playing like Mega Man 2, 3, even though those are the ones I list as like the best games in the series, just because, man, I miss that dash and that wall climb and these other control mechanics that
Right.
I jumped and I died. Dang it. That's not fun. So I think that would probably be the one more controversial one that I would probably throw onto that used to be among my favorite game series. It probably still is in overall import to me. When I saw Mega Man in Smash, I lost it. That was awesome. But going back now, I very much drastically prefer the games that came out later. So that's it for me.
Nice. I definitely agree. And like we have said in other episodes too, it has a lot to do with how well a game ages. Ocarina of Time aged really well. I don't know if something like A Link to the Past has. It's not that it has aged badly. I just don't think it has aged as well as other games.
Ready your pitchforks, men.
Uh-oh.
Hey, for the record, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
There's a couple of games that we know we love, but I think to myself, oh no, I wouldn't play it again because I know I'm not gonna enjoy it anymore. I'm actually gonna start disliking it or noticing its flaws more openly.
Yeah, I mean, but Link to the Past though, I know what you mean. Like, I wouldn't play Link to the Past again like now, but back then it was just like, man, it was like what an adventure. And I felt the same way with Link's Awakening on the Game Boy and the Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, which are one of my they're two of my favorite Zelda games up there. So
Nice. No, and just to clarify, I would play A Link to the Past again. I've actually replayed it a couple of times, but I kind of have to prepare myself, thinking
right.
it's just not as like as streamlined as some of the more modern 2D Zelda games, but it's definitely a really great game still.
It's always slower than I remember it to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And I don't know if you played A Link Between Worlds, but they really sped that game up to actually feel like what I thought A Link to the Past felt like, which is kind of an interesting little thing. And I actually appreciated what they did with A Link Between Worlds for that, because they kind of made that game a little bit snappier than the original. I have a fairly hard time going back and playing A Link to the Past at this point because it just feels slow.
Yeah, man, that was a great game. And I wonder, though, speaking of nostalgia and remembering old games, I wonder if Yoshi's Story is considered a good game. I mean, I played it so much when I was little. I rented it like at least 20 times before my parents said, okay, let's just buy it for him.
I think so. I actually quite enjoyed it. Just 'cause,
Yeah?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I guess I'm just trying to I compared it with like Yoshi's Island from they dub it as Super Mario World 2.
That's the problem.
That's just not fair.
I know. You know what?
That game does hold up.
Yeah, it does hold up. It does. Yeah. So I mean, being a little unfair, a little biased, but I mean, and that's the thing though, with commonly mistaking. Retract back. With nostalgia and quality, you're gonna have a little bias with the games that you really liked before in the past. But there are certain games like Chrono Trigger where it does hold up pretty well. People still play it, and it's still a masterpiece. You know what? So today, one of my coworkers, he actually has his N64 and GameCube, and played a little bit after work. Actually, before this recording, we played Mario Kart 64. And back then, when I played that game, man, I was like, wow, like, I was like,
That one's another one that's hard to go back to now.
You know why? Hell yeah. I will tell you why right now. Because now we had on the HDTV, I don't know why, but we were playing. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Bleep went down because the controls were so sensitive. Like, when I was just trying to steer my cart, it felt so freaking weird. Like, I don't know. Like, I was like, man, like, the counter steer is, like, unreal. And being able to drift, it was super freaking hard. And you know, in Mario Kart 64, if you turn your cart left and right a bit too much, you're going to slip. Holy shoot. That's not cool. Because back then, I was like, all right, this seems like a standard thing. And I can argue right now that Mario Kart 64 was definitely one of the harder Mario Karts to, get good at because of those things. And I mean, yeah, there's some get good, GIT, but anyway. But yeah, it just felt so weird. Like, I tell you guys, like, I mean, there was a certain course where I was like, man, like, I keep slipping, I keep falling to the freaking, the water. I'm like, oh, just like, sort of gave me mad like Call of Duty, but I didn't really show it at work because we're at work, so I don't want to like throw any expletives. But I mean, I was kind of like, oh goodness gracious. But anyway,
well, there's a few series that I feel like the newest version of the game is the best one out there, and Mario Kart is definitely up there. I definitely think that 8 Deluxe is the best Mario Kart. Obviously there are some people who will chime in for Double Dash in particular and agree.
Right.
Great game.
Yeah. Great game.
But you're talking 16 tracks versus what, 50?
I mean, it's can't really compare.
And including a lot of the Double Dash tracks. Now, I do kind of miss like the special items and things. Those were a little crazy, but I do mechanically sound fun to play, especially with the online play and such. Yeah, 8 Deluxe I think is easily the best Mario Kart out there.
Most definitely. I mean, just without a doubt. I mean, it's super polished. It's streamlined. It has what you need. It has what you want for a Mario Kart game. Although I know that some people might be like, "Oh, well, they need more tracks and stuff." But I mean, it's got quite a number of tracks already. So there is one.
I would always like more.
Yeah, it's true. It's always good. More is good for this game. But speaking of games, there is one game that holds a special place in my heart. Even though, when looking back, it wasn't that really good of a game.
Call of Duty. It keeps working. It's amazing.
It keeps working. No, you know what? No, it's not Call of Duty. Because, I mean, I still like playing Modern Warfare 2. Well, I mean, I haven't played it for a while, but I mean, I still consider it a decent game. It's just kind of broken.
Not a good game. Okay.
Not a good game. But the game I'm talking about is Mario is Missing on the SNES. Yeah, because when I was, I think 5 or 6, my dad bought this game.
Oh no.
And, yeah, because he bought it because it was like, oh, it's educational. Oh, it's Mario. Boom, my son's gonna love it. And at the time, it was pretty cool because then I get to go to different. I think I'm having deja vu. We talked about this game before.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did, yeah. And then like
this is the game that a lot of people accidentally rented.
Yeah, and there's that theme that played when I'm in San Francisco. It goes like ba ba da da ba ba da ba da da do.
Oh yes, yes, I love it.
I played that game 100%.
Oh, you did? Yo,
oh, yeah.
It's so. I mean, I didn't, but I mean, I didn't 100% the game, but I guess
it only took a couple hours. It really wasn't that long of a game, but
I mean, when you're like 5 or 6 years old, and I mean, I guess kindergarten level, I didn't really know a lot of what the words were saying as much, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I mean. And then I guess I could have gone back to it later on, but I just didn't bother because I was just like, oh, forget this game. Good. I mean, is it not a good game? I mean, it is okay. Like, I mean, if you're comparing it to like other Mario games, yeah, it's not a good game, but
right.
But
it really wasn't. It's not bad. It's just a little dull.
It's a little dull, yeah. And then, but I like the music though. And then, there's times where there's like certain locations in Africa and in Europe and Asia. I'm like, and I just enjoy listening to music and just having Luigi ride on Yoshi and go around and talk to people and blah. and just keep in mind, I was 5 or 6 years old, so I wasn't really aware of what I was supposed to do. I was just playing around for fun, and I didn't realize that there was like an objective for me to get certain items and talk to certain people and stuff. So
I was honestly hyped that you could play as Luigi.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I mean,
I know my buddy Darren will be excited to hear me say that, but honestly, that's the first time I think that's the first time you can solo play Luigi, and I was pretty excited about it, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm gonna throw this one into Mario's Time Machine. That was another one too.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, but that one I played when I was a bit older, so I could understand, some of the history concepts.
Everything that was wrong with it.
And like for me, I don't know about you guys, but I'm really big on history. I love like history in general and just reading about it at times. And even when I talked about it before, even when I started learning about soccer, like I would actually go into like the Premier League history and like who won and what happened and some of the things that happened over the course of the years in soccer and the
cool.
World Cups. So I'm kind of like that sort of history buff in a way because I'm always. I mean, I think it's important to learn about certain pieces of history because it in a way it does shape who we are today, and there's certain things in history where you don't want to make the same mistakes. So anyway, I'm going off topic. So that's all I got, guys, for Shy Guys. 2 questions in one. Kill two birds with one stone. Yeah, kill 2 birds with one stone. Yeah.
So before I actually kind of want to ask you guys a question before we jump off of this. So I listed one of mine, but do you guys have other games that you would think that the modern version is better than the retro versions at this point?
Oh, the modern version. Let me think. Pokemon? I mean, Pokemon would be a good one. Well, okay. I'm okay. Never mind. Let me retract back
So Sun and Moon is better than Red and Blue. Okay.
No. I just thought of it for a little bit, but I mean, graphically it's good, better
for sure.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, can't replace Red and Blue, man. I mean, it's just like.
Yeah, I mean, to fully answer the question, like there are some games such as like Super Metroid that I said this last episode, I think, or the one before it. I think Super Metroid is the best Metroidvania game. And the other one that comes to mind at that is Symphony in the Night, and both of those are like 20 plus years old. So, and I don't think that that's just nostalgia speaking. I just think that they did it best. Other times, I think that as games move on in a series, they actually get better. Pikmin 3 comes to mind. I think that's the best Pikmin game. You could make a pretty good case for sports games that iterate on things, although I will fight you if you say that any Madden game is better than 96. But yeah, I mean, are there any other series or games now that you think are at least comparable with some of the all-time, the ones that are held all-time greats?
Well, I tend to always believe that the latest or the newest Super Smash Brothers game, it's technically the best. I mean, it has the most content, it's the most refined, it's the most balanced. Yeah, I mean, they are individually tweaked, so you might prefer the super fast melee or the unpredictable brawl or something different. But
No.
yeah, I just think each new one is pretty much the better one, you know?
And I can see that, and especially as Ultimate's coming out, which, speaking of Smash Brothers content, no, I'm not going to touch on the leaks, but they're awesome and I love them. Anyways, no, I think
Team Real.
I think you can. Yeah, I am team. I want to believe. Anyways, I think it is very hard for me to argue. You know, some balance questions and things aside, it's getting harder and harder to argue that a game with 70 characters at launch is worse than a game with 25. And I understand. So I understand better than most. Melee is an absolutely fantastic game, and I still think it might be the best to play of them. But if you look back now, especially for newer players jumping on the series and such, I'm pretty excited about Ultimate, to be honest, just because I think it's going to be a little bit easier to pick up and play, but it's kind of retaining some of the speed and such of Melee. So I think, I definitely think you can make that argument, and I don't think it's a crazy argument at all.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've talked about it before multiple times. I mean, we're all really excited about Ultimate, and it's, man, like, I just can't wait. Oh, goodness. What was it? Less than 1.5 months. Oh, my.
Yeah, I've decided that the last 2 months before the Smash release for every Smash Brothers is like my favorite holiday.
There we go.
Like, this happened with Wii U with the leaks that came out like 45 days ahead of it, and now the new leaks with Ultimate. It's just exciting. Like, I look at it, and especially when you're looking at characters that are literally on the top of your wish list on these leaks, and you're like, you know, please,
Nintendo, hear us out.
And I just noticed recently that I'm sure you guys have heard of a show called The Game Awards. It's gonna air the night before Smash, so that's gonna be pretty cool.
Oh no!
Oh.
They said they're gonna reveal every character before launch. It'd be amazing if they waited until then.
Man, that'd be cool. Oh goodness. I mean, how many?
I kind of bet they are gonna do that now.
I mean, how many characters can they possibly make more? I mean, besides Waluigi. I mean, that's just been.
Oh man, I'm still hoping. I'm holding on to hope. W, man, W.
If you count the Pokemon Trainers Pokemon as 3 separate characters, and you count all the Echoes as their own separate characters, they're currently at 74.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's insane.
I just think it's too much or too many, to be honest. Because, I mean, well, I get I'm flip flopping here, but for one point, it is good to have a lot of characters. But at the same time, I mean, it's a lot to master when you're a professional, and you gotta be able to counter against. Yeah, you have to find a counter against all these characters, but it could be overwhelming for the the casual fan. So
my advice to everyone listening to this would just be play the game how you want. Don't worry about the characters. Pick the ones that look cool and pick a different one every round, or unless you're Sergio, where you just pick Pikachu every round.
or Pichu.
or Pichu, I guess. But, just play around with the characters and have fun. Like, the easiest way to not get overwhelmed is just not even worry about it. Pick a random stage, random character, it doesn't matter.
That is some really good advice from a tournament level Smash player. Daryl, and speaking of your name, would you like to talk about the last question we have in the listener mail?
Sure. So, from Rebecca, who just happens to be my wife, the question is, how do you feel being a quote-unquote gamer affects your everyday life personally? Do you deal with people differently, especially when you're talking to like gamers versus non-gamers? Does it affect how you approach work and play?
Ooh.
So, Kevin, why don't you kick us off?
All right, sure. So I think it does, but in a more positive light. I think it's, on one hand, being a gamer, you learn how to develop that sort of determination, be able to problem solve, and have that relentless dedication to figuring stuff out and be able to, conquer life's challenges, like just from the RPGs I've played to even some of the platformers. Like Celeste is a very good example, and Final Fantasy VI. And, there's just all these things. And do I deal with people differently? It really depends on the conversation. I mean, if someone that I talk to is not really a gamer, then, I typically just try to adapt to the situation, try to, maybe talk about other things. Because when in video gaming, I've learned over the years that, you can't talk to someone the same way. Everybody has a different personality. And especially in RPGs where that's the design and the design direction to create different characters. You're not just interacting with the same average Joe. I mean, you're talking to someone who's stoic, like Squall Leonhardt from Final Fantasy VIII. You're talking to someone who is, with this fiery temper, like Zell from Final Fantasy VIII.
No, even now, I love that you're literally comparing people to video game characters to illustrate their personalities, which I think illustrates the point of the question. Like,
yeah, so it does affect. So my answer is yes. It does affect my everyday life, but in the positive way. Got it. Yeah. So yeah, it does affect my everyday life, and I think it's good because I'm just looking back at the things we talked about, especially with the positive effects of video gaming from that one episode, which I think we did an awesome job, and especially you guys, and it's just great to
pat ourselves on the back. Yes.
Yeah, doing it right now. Yeah. Yeah, so I think it just made me more cognizant of my surroundings and being able to converse with people in the right way without, being too overbearing. I think that's my answer right there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it always comes down to how much you are passionate about X or Y hobby, whatever it is. In this case, we're discussing gaming, and yeah, I mean, to me, I'm such a big gamer that it just carries on through my entire life, and
right.
Happy to say that I feel like being a gamer just makes my life better. There's times at work when things are a little more difficult, and I always tell myself, well, it's like those games that the difficulty ramps up when you're kind of cruising and things are a little too easy. The game ramps up the difficulty so you can have a challenge and keep having fun. And I tell myself, you've done this before, you're good with challenges, you're good because of gaming, so carry on through and you can do this, and it turns out I do.
I love that. That's awesome.
As expected.
Yeah. And even another kind of silly one, but like sometimes you have your plans, and you're like, oh, I'm out of work, I'm gonna play this game or that other game, and then you get home and whatever happens, you play a different game, or you don't even play a game at all. But I kind of like to think of those as side quests. The main game, the main story is always gonna be there for you. So whatever you do in life, just have fun.
So life is a game.
I really need to stop going after Sergio here. This is whatever you do in life, just have fun. Remember that we'll end the show with it.
There we go. That's
no, I mean, to me, and it's kind of similar to what Sergio just said. To me, it got to a point to where I kind of view a lot of life occurrences as a game. Kind of like what Sergio was saying, whereas, everything to me is, okay, what is my point B? I am currently at point A. What's my point B? How do I get there? What are the steps I need to take? And, it all equates to, well, I just, if I fight 5 more battles, then I'll level up and then I can take on this boss,
Right.
that works for work analogies. It works for challenges in life. It works for a bunch of other things. When I go through kind of a hard time or I get sick or something, I'm fairly decent at just kind of putting that to the side and just saying, okay, yeah, this sucks now, but this isn't going to be forever. I know that.
Right.
And maybe that's, now that you kind of said that, honestly, maybe that is somewhat attributed to gaming because that has been literally reinforced in a lot of my life. That no, you'll get through it. You can do this. As for how it affects how I deal with people, now I'm coming from a point of view that I don't really know how I deal with people if I'm not a gamer, just because I am.
Yeah, it's
so I
maybe
no idea the net effect it has had on me. But what I will say is, one thing that I love about video games and about the tournament scenes and things like that is, all of a sudden you have a bunch of people who want to talk about something that you like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned before, the Nintendo community, for the very large part, the Nintendo community, the Smash community, they're really cool people. Like, I have stayed at people I didn't know's houses to attend a tournament, and everybody was cool with it, and things like that. And saying that now, it sounds a little scary, but that's just kind of the norm. You know these people through message boards and such, and then you get to meet them in real life, and it's awesome. It's an instant click, and it's great. Mm-hmm. So I definitely think anytime that you're talking to somebody who shares that interest that strongly, like you do, it makes it a lot easier to kind of have a foot in the door there,
right.
Start a conversation. Whereas if I get in a conversation with people who just do not understand these references, the people that I would never ever tell that I'm doing a Nintendo based podcast.
I mean, that's totally feasible. I mean, I'm probably the same. Like, I think I'm more willing to talk to people about the podcast if they do play video games and they have a passion for it, because I mean, that's just something that we can relate, and there's a connection there. And so, I mean, we're gamers for life. I mean, I just for the longest time, I mean, just being a part of this, just having this hobby and sharing it with you guys, and you guys sharing your games, and Dog Island, and my never-ending wish for that one game that I wish they can remaster or remake, or
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty. I need to take a breather.
Nintendo Jump Podcast, episode 18, the Call of Duty special.
Oh man, we're adulting now. No, but Nintendo, man, F-Zero. I just had to say it. I know, but I'm still holding on for hope. But yeah, I mean, whew, man. So with that being said, that's gonna do it for episode 18 of the Nintendo Jump Podcast.
What did I just say we were gonna end the show with?
Whatever you do in life, just have fun.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
We said it. Go ahead.
Okay. So, if you like the podcast, please let us know. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Nintendo Jump. We also have a Facebook group that we'd love for you to join. We also have a Discord group, which you will find in our show notes. If you have any comments or questions about the show or future topic ideas, please write to us at NintendoJumpPodcast@gmail.com. We also ask that you please give us a review at your podcast app of choice. That really helps more people find us, and we'll appreciate you forever for it. Finally.
No, we got one more thing.
Oh, we do? Oh, ooh. Sorry. It's
I did promise everyone that the music episode is coming sooner than expected. Sergio, share the good news.
Yeah.
We are going to have our music episode in 2 months. So look forward to that. No, no.
What?
No. Next week, next episode, music episode number 2. Look forward to it.
Yeah, so if you have suggestions, please send them in now. Stop listening right now and send in a suggestion.
That'll be episode 19, which
Yep.
will come next week. So please, with that being said, we're going to jump on out of here. Once again, this is Kevin. And for Daryl and Sergio, thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty.